I am very glad that migrants who arrived from Ukraine, Ukrainians living in Poland, have found their good caring home in Poland. Even if we compare these statistics, we must be aware that Poland's support for Ukraine amounted to 4.91% of Poland's GDP, €25 billion. But regardless of the fact that we see that these numbers differ, we as a state care about all minorities that exist in Poland. Some develop more dynamically, others less dynamically, adding specific amounts of money to Polish GDP. But the data that the journalist cites, regardless of this dissonance, shows that Ukrainians in Poland feel well. We have a system of care for minorities that provides an opportunity for development. I think this is evidence of how Poland was opened after 2022, welcoming over 1 million Ukrainians. We have reached the moment, and we are working on this, that after my first veto, the Polish government is working so that the Ukrainian minority in Poland is treated the same in Poland as other minorities. And this is evidence that over the last 4 years Poland has fulfilled its social responsibilities and its solidarity responsibilities, opening itself to citizens of Ukraine who live in Poland.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please.
Thank you very much. For us today, this is an important victory. This 90 billion. It would be very difficult for us without them, very difficult. You understand this perfectly. 45 billion interest-free loan. In any case, it is tied to Russian reparations. And these are important steps. The fact that European leaders have found such a format, the fact that our team has worked together with Europe on a positive decision, for us this is strengthening. This is a signal to the Russians that it makes no sense for them to continue fighting because we are financially supported, which means that we will not crumble at the front. We will, of course, support our army and our people. Our budget is supported by 45 billion in the year 2026 precisely from these funds. In war there are no positive results, but today it is an important positive signal for our society and a sharp signal to the enemy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question is short.
As you, Mr. President, said, our state rose to the challenge after 2022, when there was the full-scale invasion by Russia of Ukraine. But as you said, there is an issue that casts a shadow on our relations and is used by enemies. These are exhumations of victims. Tell us when and whether we can expect concrete declarations, and when this issue will be resolved once and for all.
Who is this question for?
To both presidents.
First, I asked President Volodymyr Zelensky.
Thank you. Today we discussed this issue with Karol and we returned to it more than once. Today, the heads from our side and representatives from the Polish side are present, the Institute of National Remembrance. They operate with facts and steps. They no longer operate with declarations, but with the work they have started. The Polish side would like to speed up this process. The Ukrainian side is ready to meet halfway. These are not declarative things, these are concrete steps.
Thank you, President Karol Nawrocki.
First of all, I thank Mr. President for his clear declaration on this issue. That is why we invited representatives of the Institute of National Remembrance. We also included this issue in the agenda of our meeting together with Mr. President, in order to show what must be resolved. And it is not only about symbols, but about real actions. Therefore, we submitted 26 applications. Institute of National Remembrance, Professor Poliowski spoke. A representative, the head of the Ukrainian Institute of National Remembrance, responded to this. Today we leave this meeting with President Zelensky convinced that all formal and administrative issues that stood in the way of this situation will be resolved on the Ukrainian side. We spoke about the specific 26 requests. I think it is in our common interest to have a joint burial of the victims of the Volhynia genocide. This follows from Christian values that also unite Poland and Ukraine. But I also want to add one more important thing. We raised it during the meeting, and I would like it to be stated publicly. For the Russian Federation, for today's Russian Federation, the instrumentalization of history, lies about the past and about history are one of the foundations of its imperial actions. Therefore, President Zelensky and I are aware that by resolving this issue and implementing these 26 requests, we remove from the Russian Federation an argument and an attempt to divide us and spread disinformation. Yes, this is a very sensitive issue between our states today. I believe that our meeting today will resolve this issue.
Thank you, Mr. President. And here is the last question.
Svetlana Lisovska, Suspilny, Ukraine. Mr. President Nawrocki, the first part of the question is for you. Yesterday, Alexander Lukashenko said that Oreshnik was delivered to Belarus. We also see repeated border crossings by Russian drones and sabotage on railways. Do you perceive this as a direct threat to Poland? And to both presidents, how can Ukraine and Poland together overcome these potential threats? Is it joint drone production, deeper cooperation between businesses, or what?
Of course, Poland has been in a state of hybrid war with the Russian Federation and with Belarus for many years. A hybrid war. I emphasize this. Attacks, pressure on Poland's eastern border with Belarus, destruction of Polish infrastructure, drone attacks on the night from the 9th to the 10th of September. We are not the only European Union state that experiences this kind of practice from the Russian Federation. We are aware, dear journalist, ladies and gentlemen, that something in Europe is changing. I have the honor to lead a nation that did not give up its freedom and independence through the centuries. Even when we were divided under occupation, the Polish gene of will and the strength of the Polish soldier made it possible for us to win back independence. And I, as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, am fully aware that thanks to Polish soldiers and our strong alliances, we are safe. As President of Poland, I will do everything so that Poland does not face a regular war. But we are also aware of what we are participating in. Answering the second part of your question, yes, with President Zelensky we talked about the fact that our relations should influence the start of infrastructure and investment actions in Poland. Regarding anti-drone systems, using Ukraine's experience paid for with blood. Today, in the fight against drones, Ukraine has the greatest experience, the best experience, an experience from which Poland should draw. Just as we use cooperation between the intelligence services of both states. This is inviolable, with security in mind. And these problematic issues, I think, after this visit will be resolved. Would you like to add, Mr. President?
Regarding Oreshnik, the relocation of Oreshnik to the territory of Belarus is being completed. We understand. where it will be placed. We share information with our partners. I think the partners themselves can assess this threat and understand how they should respond to it, in my opinion. Prior to that, we warned our European and American partners that Russia would deploy Oreshnik on the territory of Belarus. We showed the distance at which Oreshnik will operate. This is a threat to many European countries, including Poland, Germany, and other countries. We showed it to them. It is impossible to shoot down Oreshnik with drones today. They used Oreshnik against the territory of Ukraine. We understand how to deal with it. We asked our partners to impose sanctions against companies located both on the European continent and on other continents. Companies that sell components through third countries that are used for Oreshnik. Without these components, Russia simply cannot develop Oreshnik production. I do not see these sanctions being introduced, honestly, so far. We believe that Russia will continue to produce Oreshnik. Thank God, it is not yet capable of producing many of them, despite whatever claims it makes. We understand their quantity, but nevertheless, they are doing it for a reason. My question is quite logical. If our partners, both the United States and others, are making a lot of diplomatic efforts to end the war, can our partners also put pressure on Russia not to deploy Oreshnik closer to Europe, to the borders with Poland? I believe that we need to do this. Otherwise, it is difficult to understand why Russia is attacking American air defense systems on the territory of Ukraine. Why then do the partners not draw conclusions about the threats on the territory of Belarus, which will be controlled by the Russian Federation, of course, as well as the missiles on the first night, as you remember, of the full-scale invasion? The missiles that killed our people flew to the territory of our state, flew from Belarus as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you for the press conference. Dear ladies and gentlemen, thank you for participating in the press conference. Thank you for accepting our invitation.